Well, good evening, Dermers. Welcome to another edition of Uncle Steve's Derm Corner. And in this festive edition, supported by Colin the Reindeer, we're going to be running through some of the basics of the GFI Systems Clockwork Delay version 2. I have absolutely no idea what version 1 was like. And while I'm here, I thought I'd also take the opportunity of showing you exactly how shit the Panther Cub is. So, to start off with, the Clockwork Delay version 2. Nice little unit, really keen on it. It has some faults, not that many. I'll run you through very quickly what it does. Now, I will point out at this stage that today's festive edition is sponsored by Tanqueray Gin, and also, of course, Bright Smile TM, the sponsored toothpaste of pedal birds of Derm. So, here we go, to kick off. The Clockwork Delay, very simple unit, very powerful. 2 buttons, on off, which also cycles through the various presets. Once you've selected those, you can select your presets with this button here. This also does the tap, and it also does some other functions as well. So, in its very basic mode, just turning it on, you've got, I'll turn the volume up, a nice shimmery basic digital delay. You've got subdivisions here. You can tap them in with the tap switch. You need to do at least 4 hits to get it to recognise it as a tempo. Now this parameter knob will basically give you access to the modulation functions. So in its current position it's off. If you turn it in the first half of its turn, you get a slow modulation speed, and you can increase its depth. Then in the second half of its operation, you get a slightly faster modulated tone. And again, the higher you turn it, the more depth you get. So that's the basic core delay sound. Digital, a little bit high end roll off, nothing spectacular. Now, this is where it gets interesting. You've got, probably see just here, there's 2 sets of 3 letters, T, L, A, H2, H3 and H4. And what these do, depending on where this switch is set, if I set it in the T position and then press both the switches together once, in fact I've got to change that, I'll show you why in a second. We're now in the green bank, which is T, L and A. That's tape, lo-fi, analog and ambient. Now the parameter knob now does slightly different things in each mode. So, if I start with the tape mode, the parameter knob then controls the amount of saturation of the tape, also the modulation. So you can hear there it sounds grittier, warmer. If we put it into the faster modulation position, you get this wonderful swirling, almost flanging effect going on in the background. You've then got the lo-fi, which is effectively the analog delay setting. And again, the parameter knob gives you control over the modulation. this is the ambient mode. Now again, the parameter knob does something completely different here as well. In the ambient mode, if it's set in the first half of its travel, it adds a perfect fifth pitch shift to the repeats. The second half of its travel, it adds an octave, so it's a proper sort of shimmer delay effect. And again, the higher you have it turned, the more impact you get, the more of that shimmer you get. So that's basically the tape, the lo-fi and the ambient modes. Now the second lot you access it very easily again by pressing and holding both buttons. It flashes red and you're there. Now this is the multi-head setting, so you've got options for tape multi-heads, and again the parameter knob does something completely different. If you start off with the 2-head position, when the switch is in the left hand side, then the parameter knob in the first part of its travel does what you call a dotted eighth and phi setting. Now phi is the golden ratio, it's roughly 1.61. I won't bother explaining what it means mathematically, but in theory what it means is that if you set the tempo, then the phi delay setting should sound good against any tempo, in theory. You can see there's little gradations on the parameter button here, on the parameter knob, so every time you turn it past one of those gradations it changes the setting of the heads. Now the regen does go pretty high, but it doesn't go into oscillation. Now you can do another thing with this button as well. If you see where the regen is set there, if I press and hold that, then it will ramp up the regeneration to its maximum setting slowly, and then ramp it back down again slowly. So if I can just try and coordinate this, because I'm not using my feet. I don't get that quite right. Trust me, it works. I'm not doing this very well because obviously this is not the ideal position to be trying to demo this thing in. If I go to the 3-head setting, again, parameter knob gives you different timings and spaces between the heads. And then over to the 4-head setting. the parameter knob changes the setting of the heads to various different settings, various different distances. And that, in a nutshell, is pretty much it. It does some great stuff. I really like it. It's simple, it's straightforward. You can get some wonderful ambient type textures out of it. If I just go back to the lo-fi setting and see if I can get it to oscillate. I haven't actually tried this yet. So no, it won't oscillate. Right, that's one thing. Turn that bugger off. Sorry, as I said, turn that bugger off. The JHS Panther cub. This really is an absolute fucking horrible thing. I'll show you the main issue with it. Now, I've got the mix fairly high because it actually seems reasonably quiet. If I leave the feedback in the middle position, you would expect that you're going to get some sort of reasonable length of delay time, some sort of reasonably clear repeats. So if I just tap in a rough tempo, that's not too bad. However, if I just crank it up a little notch more to about the 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock mark, you may not be able to hear that too much, so I'll turn the mix up a little bit so you can get clear. There you go, it's doing it. That is the staple sound of this pedal, and there's no way to kill it. It basically goes into dolphin mode. I'm not touching anything, and you can hear it's just got that horrible clicking, nasty oscillation in the background that just goes on and fucking on. And the only way to stop it is just to crank down the feedback, give it a couple of seconds, hope it goes away. Again, you can hear there I've just touched the strings and it's off again. Horrible thing. Fuck off you, I can't stand you. Horrible thing, absolutely appalling. How JHS could let this thing get released onto the market with such a blatant and obvious flaw which effectively makes it unusable, I have no idea. One thing I did meant to do as well, very quickly, I forget who asked me this, what's the Clockwork delay like with gain? I've just got a TC Mojo set up here, which isn't the best gain pedal on the planet, admittedly. But it'll do for our purposes. So if we go back to the Clockwork, and this is just on the basic delay setting again. Turn that modulation off. I'm not much of a lead player, so I'm not going to bother. That's it in a nutshell. Enjoy, guys. Happy Christmas from Colin and I, and Colin would like to do his little piece as well.